Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. Is it permissible to talk to the opposite gender at all, or are all interactions outside of marriage prohibited? So when we look at the issue of the genders interacting with one another, we find that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did have interactions with the opposite gender to give salams or to ask particular questions in order to do business. All of that those are permissible interactions. However, casual conversations, flirting, or anything that is outside of what is necessary, this is impermissible and needs to be avoided. As the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Iyakum wad-dukhul ala nisa." Beware of mixing with the women. And so this shows us that unnecessary interactions between the genders is impermissible, and Allahu Ta'ala knows best. So what is the role and responsibility of the husband and the wife, or the mother and the father, as relates to their children losing faith over the dysfunction of the relationship of the husband and the wife? And so we remind everyone of the importance of the marital relationship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instituted the marriage relationship as a means for the husband and the wife to come together in happiness and tranquility, and to find mercy and compassion and affection between them. And so the moment that there is any discord, it is the obligation of the husband and the wife to try their best to reconcile their differences. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, وَالصُّلْحُ خَيْرٌ, and reconciling is best. Reconciling is best. Now, one of the things that is very important for the husband and the wife, or the mother and the father, to understand is the effect that their discord has on the children. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us these children as a gift. As Allah Azza wa Jal, He says in the Quran, يَهَبُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ إِنَاثًا وَيَهَبُ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ الذُّكُورَ. He gives as a gift to whomever He pleases daughters, and He gives as a gift to whomever He pleases sons. So these sons and daughters that Allah Ta'ala has gifted to us, they are responsibility. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, كُلُّكُمْ رَاعٍ وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. All of you are responsible, and every one of you will be questioned about his responsibility. And one of the great things that we're going to be questioned about on the Day of Judgment is us being responsible as parents. And what are we doing to ensure the health and well-being of our children, even when it comes to the relationship or the marital relationship in of itself. And so as we move forward with our relationships as husbands and wives, let every mother and every father take into consideration when they are finding themselves in difficult scenarios with their marital partner, with their spouse, that they need to consider the children and the health and well-being of each child, and Allah Ta'ala knows best. Is it permissible for a person to make dua in sujood in English? Now the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, أقرب ما يكون العبد من ربه وهو ساجد فأكثر الدعاء. The closest that an individual will be to his Lord is while he is in a state of prostration. So make lots of sujood. So make lots of dua. So make lots of dua. And so here the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam commands that in the state of sujood, that a person is to make a lot of dua, or a lot of supplication. And he did not clarify that dua should be done in the Arabic language alone. So this means that it is unrestricted, because the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam did not restrict the dua in this command to be the Arabic language. He did not say, so make a lot of dua in the Arabic language. What he said was, make a lot of dua, and left it unrestricted. So we leave it unrestricted the way that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam left it unrestricted, and Allah Ta'ala knows best. So the question here, we have actually two questions, both along the lines of the Salah, and people having some difficulties making their Salah. Some because they have issues that come up, or some because they're lack motivation. So we want to impress upon everyone the importance of the salah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam, he said, "Ma bayna rajuli wa kufri tarku salah." The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, what is between the man and disbelief is the leaving off of the salah. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, "Al-ahdu alladhi baynana wa baynahum as-salah, faman tarakaha faqad kafar." The covenant between us and them, us meaning the Muslims and them meaning the disbelievers. He said the covenant between us and them is the salah. So whoever leaves it off has disbelieved. And so it is a very, very, very grave sin for a person to not pray his 5 daily prayers at their stated times. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, أول ما يحاسب عليه العبد يوم القيامة الصلاة فإن صلحت صلح سائر عمله وإن فسدت فسد سائر عمله. The Prophet said عليه الصلاة والسلام that the first thing that the individual will be questioned about on the day of judgment is the salah. So if it is upright, then all of his other deeds will be upright. But if his salah is corrupted, then all of his other deeds will be corrupted. And so therefore, this shows us that the foundation of all of our actions is built upon our salah. It is the bedrock of our ibadah, is the most important act of worship that we do after establishing the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It comes before any action that we're doing in this dunya. Any work or any relationship, the salah comes first. And so when we think about it in this sense, then we have to motivate ourselves in order to come to the salah and make sure that we're praying at this stated time. Now, for an individual who is struggling, what is the process? What is the way to get back? Now, everyone should be praying 5 times a day, and I do not give an excuse for anyone who's not praying 5 times a day. However, praying 1 time a day is better than praying no times a day. Praying 2 times a day is better than praying 1 time a day. And so getting close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with effort and taking steps towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah azza wa jal will give you the strength. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says in the Quran, وَالَّذِينَ اهْتَدَوْا زَادَهُمْ هُدًى وَآتَاهُمْ تَقْوَاهُمْ. Allah ta'ala, he says, and those who follow right guidance, we increase them in guidance and we give them their piety. And so my advice to someone who's not praying is to take the first step. And that is whatever salah that you haven't prayed or that's in front of you right now, as you're listening to this, whatever salah is in right now, go pray that right now. Just take the first step. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase you in guidance. The more you go to Allah, the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will assist you. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us all strength and ability to worship Him in a way that Allah is pleased with. And Allah ta'ala knows best.